Welcome to this week's In the Hot Seat, where each week we put the tech vendor news in the hot seat to tell you what's hype and what's not. And this week we're adding a new segment to the end, so I'll give you a little bit of a teaser there. And I guess I should say we accidentally tested it last week, if you saw the show. So so now that we've tested it, we saw it worked, and we're going to highlight as the third story every week a AI startup funding announcement that we think, or a tech startup funding announcement that we think is interesting and would also fall into our hype or not sort of analysis. So stand by for that one at the end. So our first story is Encore AI, which closed and this is a startup too, so I just lied, I guess, which closed a $30 million Series A on July 29th to expand its patented interaction mining platform, which analyzes calls, chats, emails, landing pages, and CRM data to find specific actions top performers take and turn them into autonomous agents or a real-time wingman assist tool. So the vendor claims that it's the only enterprise AI platform built to generate revenue from customer interactions. Not sure about that. Positioning interaction mining as a way to identify and replicate the exact behaviors that produce the best business outcomes. And several banks and insurance customers turned into investors in this round, which either means they saw a way to make money, or what they have is working really well and they saw a way to make money. Not sure. Or they decided they needed to invest to keep it from not working. But anyway, so what do you guys think about this one? A new interaction mining tool.
Yeah, so now we know what works in sales, right? The pressure brigade. This now gets institutionalized. So now you guys.
I mean, their focus really kind of lame as compared to what Thomas is describing. I mean, like they're very tactical like situations as opposed to relationship oriented stuff.
Yeah.
What?
That's what I was thinking.
I mean, I wouldn't call it lame though. I mean, I think if it works, and I can't verify that, but the idea that in a highly transactional environment, if you can find patterns in customer or product
idea, the helping a human in the loop be more effective in a particular situation.
Yeah. I mean, it does change the co-pilot sort of scenario, right? That if you have a AI agent sitting on your shoulder that can feed you actual actions that have worked in this pattern before, that does have some value. Now, as you say, the more complex the sale, the less that makes sense to me, I guess.
I tend to look at it as
it seems like this works in situations. Could work in situations where you have repetitive processes, i.e., you can essentially use the AI to clone whatever the representative would, i.e., they're trying to clone your best sales rep in some senses. But if it becomes very much relationship or tied very much to relationships, then you probably still need the person.
I mean,
I'd like to know how they're defining top performers, especially think about it from a call center perspective, right? Is your top performer the person who closes the most cases? Is it the person who takes the most calls? Because some of those behaviors, even though they result in more closed calls or more calls taken every month, they don't necessarily constitute a top performer from a customer perspective.
Yeah, I mean, that it is contextual, right? You'd have to set in the setup, you'd have to define what you believe is the top performance indicators, right? So whether it's closed calls or call satisfaction, or in sales, it's, closed deals, deal size, closed. I mean, there's a bunch of different variables there. That's absolutely
and
correct.
it's depending on the scenario too, right?
Yeah.
I a little earlier came from the sales scenario, which is probably, I mean, if it's about generating more revenue. It's about this is where the banks probably are most interested in. Close more, get sold more.
Yeah, but from a customer perspective, I want that person to spend time with me. I mean, that's where you drive customers for life.
Which they probably do if it's a good behavior.
I would push back on that, Christy, to say that there are a lot of times when I call support, I don't want them to spend a lot of time with me. I want them to answer my stupid question and get off the phone.
Maybe that's just a Christy thing.
I'm just saying. I don't need them to share the love. I don't.
I think there's
Amazon. I was just calling to see how you're doing.
Yeah, no.
Right.
I think there's a continuum here from here's a transaction I want taken care of right now versus here's a relationship I want to go on for a long time, and kind of a lot of stuff in between them.
Yeah. I mean, it's fair. The use cases they gave here, banking, insurance, and collections, I mean, those are yeah.
And there we are. So from a user perspective, it's probably good if I have the agent sitting on my shoulder coaching me.
Yes, I'm all in on having.
That's probably really good. Yeah. From a customer point of view, so now this system is agnostic. Yeah. And what works well is probably not what I as a customer want to be confronted with. So that's why the pushing brigade, that pushes me into a sale because the system has identified that works well for closing the sale, just because the poor customer just wants to get rid of the person calling him or her, and in all desperation signs up, just to be left in peace. And that part is kind of, well, the ethics part is kind of missing for me in that announcement. So
I don't know. See, that's the EU attitude versus the US attitude. I'm like, I don't care. Do whatever it takes to close the sale. Go ahead, Jody. Jody, I can tell you want to say something. Go ahead.
I was going to come at it from a totally different angle. I was just waiting. And I'm actually surprised, Pete, that you're silent on this one.
It's just tough to get a word in.
Yes, it is.
True. All right, so I'll speed and then flip this over to you. My side when I read this, because I think you've all covered some of the questions that I had in terms from the technology. I found it really interesting that the customers became investors. That to me, from a customer perspective, like take off my vendor hat, put on my customer hat. That speaks volumes to me as a potential prospect, right? Someone who is in my space, who sees value in this enough that they become an investor. To me, I think that's the piece that almost got buried in the information about this release. So
yeah, and I mean, there are a lot of scenarios I guess you could play out around why they did that, but it is interesting and certainly does validate at least at some level.
From the customer's perspective, that's a win.
No one knows your product defects like your customer, and if they're still willing to invest in it.
Unless it's so bad they decided they needed to put money in it to make it work.
Hire a new product team. There you go.
They want to take control.
Even in that case, they're indicating that the product has value and they don't want it to go away.
Yeah,
so
that's fair.
It's a good sign.
Okay, so we know what this means. Voting time.
Oh.
We do know what it means. Any other quick comments before we vote? No? All right. So what do you guys think? Hype or not?
It's a move.
I think it's a move.
It's a move.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Michael?
I mean, okay. The problem is, yes, I think it's an interesting idea because as you guys have heard me talk about before, I think behavior mining is an interesting way to try to build out a system. How well it works, obviously we don't know that yet, but
it needs discipline.
I'll do thumbs up.
It needs discipline. It gives you the tools to do the right things.
Yes. Yeah. All right. So story number 2, Algolia governance and cost controls added to Agent Studio. What it is, Algolia announced enhancements to Agent Studio, its platform for building and running AI agents for search, discovery, and agentic commerce experiences, adding governance and cost control features, which, I don't know, that seems like a good thing. Angola positions the update as letting enterprises deploy production-grade AI agents in weeks, not months, while keeping spend and behavior under control at scale. new governance and cost control layers on top of the existing Agent Studio, plus expanded agentic commerce capabilities aimed at retailers building AI shopping experiences on top of product data. So it is interesting. Purpose-built cost and governance controls for agent workloads are, certainly a growing issue we've seen around agent sprawl and unpredictability. In my other show this morning, I talked a bit about, some of the issues around a lot of companies have indicated that they built a lot of agents out and they have no idea where they are or how many they have. So, that is, it does seem like a real problem, but what do you guys think?
Governance has become a sales feature. I think. I think governance is going to be at the top of mind for a lot of people who, we've got a bunch of agents. Now what? How do we keep track of them?
Yeah,
and so it's a great idea.
Yeah, I think the lack of governance is a sales feature, but that's just my opinion. Sorry.
Yeah, it's a lot easier to buy if you don't have to actually implement it with any sort of discipline. Yeah, people who have
pay becomes hard. Yeah,
it's like who is running your organization? Like the Muppets? We have agents running everywhere, and we don't know how many we have or where they're. Everybody's just scurrying around in the background. That's insane.
Yeah. Pete's Muppet, Soul Muppet is animal, I think.
Yeah, that's my spirit animal. Exactly. My spirit Muppet. Yes.
Your spirit Muppet. There you go. That's what
I wanted to comment when they posted out about last call with some of the images. I was like, oh, I almost blew past Pete because there was a smile on the face.
Screenshot.
Luckily, I also lost 50 to 80% of my body weight in that picture, so that was easy.
It is an interesting idea if you look at it in the context of like marketplace and retailers who are trying to build out a product discovery engine or a shopping agent engine that has constraints built in. Fully autonomous commerce agents is still a interesting one, I think.
Well, and I think you need to have the leadership structure in place to review all of the information you get from the governance, right? It's not like governance itself is going to do anything, but people need to be reviewing how much are we spending and what is our traceability and our auditability and do we have approval workflows? Those are the things I think that are.
Until you build more agents to do that and not have to have a human being governance that governs
build a governance agent. Yeah.
And then you have a governance agent for your governance agent. I mean, this
you still have to have somebody decide what the spending threshold is, right?
But you bring up a really good point about the data, right? The data that this is collecting is key. I feel like that should be the slogan, right? AI equals data, because that's really what it is. And yes, you're going to be able to put some controls around that with the agents, which I think is interesting, but there's still a pretty heavy lift on the human side as well, which is not a bad thing.
I think I actually applaud the fact that there's a heavy lift on the human side, that I need to have humans in the place I want the human in the lead, which is my argument against human in the loop, because obviously human in the loop only scales to a certain point, but human in the lead, if you set the right goals, then yes, but that is the constraint, right? You have to be able to set the right parameters into that engine or it's not going to govern anything.
And you have to agree on those parameters. There's another dimension of that, right? From within an organization.
I guess it depends on the company, but yeah.
Yes.
What I see happening as governance becomes more of a thing here is that AI becomes part of the infrastructure of the organization, not just some novelty feature.
Governance by design is absolutely you have to build governance in when it comes to machines, because you can't govern at machine speed after the fact.
And that's why I would contradict Steve's original statement that governance becomes a sales feature. Governance is yesterday's topic. In my eyes, the real topic in this announcement is the cost control.
That's governance.
Forecast, That's the part of governance that nobody takes care of. The cost control and cost forecasting. This is a topic where, well, we have seen them all, that they are cutting their AI usage because they can't pay for it anymore. Yeah. And this is because, as Pete said it so nicely, the scurrying around agents that do something.
I mean, that's the Uber problem from earlier this year, right? They took an annual budget and spent it in a couple of months.
Yeah. I really wouldn't put that necessarily under governance, because, well, under the traditional wording of governance, which is more about, well, ethics and control of what they can do and what not, was less about pricing. So that part is really interesting.
Well, I mean, I think spend has to become a part of your governance process, right? Because that is, in fact, going to be an open question for any company that's rolling out these agents in a environment where you need to constrain how many tokens your agents can consume. So,
yet it's a weak spot of all those vendors, because they care of flying F.
Well, I mean, but that's a double-edged sword, right? I don't care until you cancel your contract because I didn't care, and then I care.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Or I don't
problem.
care. I don't care until the ROI of what agents are producing does not match up to what my expectation was. Right?
Yeah, well, and I mean, having an expectation is a good thing too, Jody, because honestly, a lot of the companies that I've talked to lately have been like, we really would like to know what the ROI might be.
Well, and actually, let's dive into that. ROI is a very interesting topic, right? Because one could challenge and say, well, what's a numeric KPI that you're being held to, right? It's going to increase efficiency by X. But what does that increased efficiency give you in terms of revenue back into the company? Or where are you taking that efficiency that you've saved and putting it back into the company to generate revenue in a different way? I mean, it opens up a lot more questions than just.
It does, Jody. So I will tell you. I'll send you a link to an article that I published yesterday that talks about the scenarios around ROI. That is not just the problem is if you just go into it with the idea that I'm gonna productivity is my metric, or in other words, I'm saving money. That is probably not the right goal, or at least it's a right goal only 20% of the time or whatever, right? So I agree with that. I think that is a problem, but part of that is shifting the mindset to understand that deploying agentic AI is not always a cost constraint or control. Its return should maybe be returning more money or something else, right?
How much of it is, in fact, people trying to keep up with the Joneses, i.e. everybody else is doing this, so I better do it too.
Yeah, you're only keeping up with the Joneses until you're bankrupt.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I think we're going to enter some pretty interesting conversations, a lot of content that's going to come out around ROI is getting put into the spotlight now because, let's face it, everybody started playing around with agents and deploying agents, trying to become more efficient, right? Look how much more content I produce. Look how many more calls I was able to get through. Great. That number's a number, but what does that actually mean on the back end? Is it the cost savings? Great from an efficiency standpoint. I'm saving money there, but how much more money am I bringing into the pipeline as a result because I've been able to do something different to generate more opportunities? I mean, ROI is going to get much more complex in terms of the expectation going forward. Right? Like, how do I justify my ROI on this? You have to be able to go beyond, well, I became more efficient. So what?
Well, yeah, that's the point, I think. And that is a big part of the problem. When you think about it as a business case, not just ROI, because it's a complex, it can be a complex situation. It might not be, because maybe it is, I just want to deflect X amount of calls in my call center, or I want to enable agents to handle twice as many calls or whatever, right? There are certainly some efficiency metrics in simplistic form, but I mean, often it's going to end up being or need to be a lot more than that.
And those statements are true even outside of AI, right?
Yeah.
Anytime you're setting a KPI and that KPI has anything to do with ROI, those statements are true.
That's absolutely right. The only issue here is that there's some parts of this that either we don't understand yet how to tie into the business strategy, or we have a certain amount of unknown when it comes to how much this is going to cost us.
Because the board said so isn't a strategy.
That is it is a strategy. It's not a winning strategy necessarily.
It's not a good strategy.
It's not a good strategy. What?
I mean, it is good if it's, I'm the CEO and if I don't do it, the board's going to fire me. That could be a really good strategy from my perspective.
Job retention strategy. There you go.
Yeah, exactly. Retaining me.
Exactly. All right. Well, let's get to the voting on this one. I think we've probably beaten this one to death. So what do you guys think? Up, down, sideways?
I think it's an up.
I think it's a good one.
There's no sideways, Michael.
I can do sideways if I want.
No, you cannot.
His thumb. Let him use it however he wants.
Okay. I would say, because I mean, honestly, any governance, any place we're talking about governance and have this conversation of governance and built into your system, to me, seems like a win. So that's fair. Right. Okay. So now to our third segment, which is our new spotlight. We're going to spotlight a new startup that just raised some money. Freehand is a San Francisco-based startup founded by logistics veterans Nitin J. Krishnan, I can't pronounce it, and Abhijit Manohar. They raised $75 million in Series B on July 29th, led by Battery Ventures, New Road Capital, Nexus Venture Partners, and former U.S. Commerce Secretary. That's pretty good, huh? The total funding is now $100 million. They claim AI teams read unstructured documents, emails, and internal chats, reason across contracts and policies, and then execute decisions directly inside a company's ERP, procurement, and finance systems alongside suppliers and customers. The round comes alongside some very serious deployments at Meta, Unilever, Johnson & Johnson, Pfizer, Dunkin', you got to have your donuts, and Cardinal Health, with agents reportedly handling 99% of decisions autonomously and speeding up workflows sevenfold at Meta and Unilever. So what do you guys think?
That number was astonishing.
The number is astonishing.
That stopped me in the press release. I'm like 99%. Oh, that's huge.
It's from a the question to me, looking at it from a supply chain perspective, is being able to make all those decisions internally with with that level of accuracy, presumably, suggests that the real savings that come from deploying AI in this way may be more present in operations than it is even in marketing.
I don't think there's any question about that, Stephen. I think you're right. I think that we're going to see finance, ops, a lot of those other use cases have much greater chance of ROI. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And have their numbers been independently validated? Because I couldn't find that anywhere.
I couldn't find that either.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but they did. I mean, to be very much they did publish company names with numbers, which means that they at least cleared those through their legal departments of some very large companies. So I'm assuming that there was a certain amount of validation in the back. Now, that may or may not be a good assumption, I suppose.
I mean, this 99% brings two questions. One is the scale, and the other one is about whether they are just now making a shitty process an automated shitty process. These 99% of automations decisions that they automate may very well be decisions that shouldn't even.
I mean, it is interesting if agents are actually executing financial and contractual decisions.
Right.
And there is a level of acceptance, which you assume means accuracy, and not just surfacing those as exceptions for humans to approve. That's interesting.
Well, yeah.
Right.
I would assume that Unilever would not let them publicize something like that and not go, wait a minute, that's not true. These names are not these aren't people that are shy. So and the logistics are complex.
Yeah.
For me, I mean, I loved when I saw this one on the topic list because this combines my two worlds, right? My day job focused on supply chain and this show. So the research that I've been doing in my day job, what jumped out at me is when you look at the stats on how much there is in terms of discrepancies in the invoices in the freight industry, right? Some of those stats reach up to 80% of carrier invoices have discrepancies. When you talk about going down all the way to that annual spend, some of the stats out there talk about mistakes taking away 3 to 7%. I mean, that's a lot of money, right? Now, if you have this agent that's in there that's able to find, correct, and execute, I mean, this goes back to the ROI we were just talking about, right? Now I have real dollars coming back into my revenue numbers at the end of the year. So,
I mean, high volume use cases, right? So that to me, that does seem logical. I mean, there it must be like our first conversation around, very complex relationship driven things don't fit this use case, but that doesn't mean this use case isn't very valuable.
There has been an entire industry that simply audits freight bills. It goes back and just audits them. That's all they do, and they've made a lot of money because of the statistics that Jody was just talking.
Because they overcharge and their clients can't figure it out. But I was going to say is the interesting thing is about if the 99% is even close to being right, like this represents a better than human scenario, and that's a no-brainer then, right? So we can stop using the dumb Muppets and use the smart ones, Beaker and that other character. They're doing this stuff, and it's way better than the alternative.
I mean, these are unverified, but that 7x speed and 10% savings figure, if those are real, I mean, that is significant.
Beaker's a friend of the show, by the way. I thought I'd get that in there.
But still, so it bases upon automating what is there. And this means that, minus the speeding up, that there is a very high likelihood of lots of stuff that shouldn't even be there. We just solve it faster now.
That's one of the things that I say here is I think the ROI is easier to figure here than it is going to be in marketing.
Oh
Just because in a lot of cases you're dealing with physical assets. And
I mean, there is an error rate calculation here. There has to be, right?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say is, the things I'd want to know before I put this into place are like, okay, how do I audit all of these decisions? And what happens if it reads a contract and misses what one of those lines means because it doesn't quite understand the context? And then who becomes legally liable if it translates those contracts incorrectly?
Oh, that's easy.
Yeah, right. Yeah. But is it the company or then is it Freehand, right? Like,
it's the company. It's the company. That actually is not going to be a question.
There's a huge risk matrix here that I think any company that lets an agent do 99% of the work on something needs to make sure they're evaluating.
Fair.
There are contracts where $1 billion is hinged on the interpretation of one word. So,
right.
Well, maybe that's a place I don't want automation.
And how many times has AI come back and said, "Oh, that's a good point. I didn't think about that." When you go back to it and you say, "Wait, are you sure?" Oh, that's a good point. I didn't think of it. Are they doing that inside the system?
The other thing is the implementation at this point may have been the low-hanging fruit. I.e., these are the things where it's easiest to do this, and consequently,
I mean, I would assume that, right? Because I mean, even in customer service use cases, that's where you see in a call center the volume that's removed is low-hanging fruit, theoretically, at least for now.
That's why they will start to.
I know that we were up against time, but the one comment that I did want to make on the thinking about the parameters behind this, right, and the guardrails that you're putting on this, I think another area that is of interest and that could be really beneficial is the logic that you can build in for cross-checking potential errors that a human may not be able to identify quickly, right? So here's a bill of material, here's the invoice, here's the numbers, understanding what those numbers are and how it relates to like a piece as a whole, right? Missing items, overbilling, missing important components that a human may not catch. I think being able to do that at scale and quickly is pretty interesting as well.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well,
All right.
so let's vote before we run out of time here. What do you guys think?
Hey, Mike, are you serious? No.
Yeah. Okay. Well, maybe. No, I mean, in this case, I do think I think it's very interesting. Now, again, there's more data needed there, but all right. Well, so that's it for this week. Thanks everybody for joining us for In the Hot Seat. Make sure you come back next week where we put more of this really exciting news in the hot seat, including our new Spotlight startup segment at the end. So thanks very much for listening today.